Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, performed this afternoon by Peter Griffin and his dirt bike.
What's up, guys? This is Justin Brayton, David Iser, and Kevin Keller, a bunch of clowns. You can go ahead and turn your radio off now.
All you DMXS listeners, welcome back to the show. We appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We just dropped the Cincerillo podcast, so make sure you guys check that out as well. And now it's time for another favorite from way back in the day, Cooper Webb. What's up, Coop?
What's up, man? How are you?
Man, we are kicking ass, but I am just excited for you. This is, I'm just looking forward to the 2024 to for your another comeback for you.
Yeah, man. Me too. It's a lot of change going in, but I'm with you. Yeah, it's we're getting to the thick of it right now. A few more weeks to Anaheim, and getting excited. That's for sure.
How's it going down there in the Star facility? That place looks like just top notch, like a NBA or NFL's training situation.
Yeah, it's been really cool, man. It's I came from Eldon, so his was always top notch. So it ranks right up there with it. It's been really cool to kind of move down to Tallahassee. We moved in August and been down here, and it's nice, with the race shop being at the same facility. I get to work with my race mechanic, and then we have amazing tracks. All the riders, aside from obviously Eli, are down here. So
yeah,
it's really cool. It's been a great change so far, and like you said, just the tracks too, are quite a bit different. There's a lot of that Georgia clay up here. And, it's been really fun. Tracks are awesome.
Is Bobby any nicer?
He's always been good to me, man. We've always hit it off, and it's always been fun. But it's been really fun lately to reunite. He doesn't get down here too much. He's still in good old Wiggins, Mississippi, selling cars. But he calls me about every few weeks and checks in, and it's been really fun to get back with him, and us have some good times.
Well, the thing is about Bobby is he'll call you on the phone and yell at you. He doesn't have to be there in person to get in your ass.
No, exactly. That's in the contract. He's not shy on the phone. He'll lay into you when he needs to. That's for sure.
What's it like moving on? I know that Alden's been in and out of your career, and mostly in throughout. But what is that? Maybe it's refreshing. I don't know. I know that you were talking about burnout back in as late as 2022 and all that stuff. This must be just like a kid in a candy store, literally just being like everything's new.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I had a lot of great years with Eldon, and learned a lot, and we left on great terms, and I think for me, it's just all new, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when I got to Eldon's in 2019, it was a new team, a new trainer, new facility, a new house. It was just like a new chance at my career, and obviously had great years at KTM and won the 2 championships, and like you said, I think now it got to the point where it was almost kind of a similar feeling, right? Where I just kind of up and left where we were living and moved to Tallahassee, which is a brand new town, brand new environment, a brand new motorcycle, a team that I knew from the 250 days, but a brand new team, new tracks, new program, new trainer, new riders. So like you said, I think for me, it was a lot of familiarities with the people I've worked with in the past and had great success with on the 250.
Yeah.
But it's also advanced from when I've been here. Like just the shop and the facility alone is insane. So yeah, it's something for me that is really cool. I think I always maybe envisioned myself maybe getting back here at some point, but you never know, right? And I'm glad it, and everything works out for a reason. And, we'll see how it ends up result-wise. But overall, I've been extremely happy and just, like you said, like a kid again and just new challenges, right?
What's the difference between this and the KTM grind? I know that, the Eldon grind and all that stuff's kind of like your boot camp has been very consistent throughout the years. Is this different workload wise versus training versus riding? Is it about the same ratio?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing, like for me, at least at Eldon's, it wasn't ever the workload.
Sure.
I think he did a great job at, everything he could as far as like trying to create new things and new this and new that. But I just think it's one of those things like, he changed his tracks every year for us and did everything like that, but it's still the same dirt, the same drive, the same, ultimate kind of program year in and year out. And, I'm a guy that maybe like for me, I learned quickly, I like to ride different places. So I think for me, that was one of the harder things was just always maybe riding the same track, but at the same time, it worked well, and we had great results doing that. So it wasn't so much the attitude of it or the physical brutality or anything like that. I just think it is tough when you kind of do the same thing as far as where you're at and the program and everything like that year after year after year. And, for at least for me, some guys love the consistency of that. But I think for me, I've learned that I do like to change things up here and there. So, I think as far as the workload and all that and the lap counts and everything, I'm taking what I've learned from Eldon. Gareth Swanepoel has a great program and he's, let me kind of tell him what I think and he's telling me what he thinks. And, it's been great. I think we're right on track fitness wise where we need to be as far as where we were with Eldon. And, it's a lot of it, you can't not grind, right, and expect results. So I think the workload is something that's always going to be there no matter what, and you're never going to change that. So I think, like I said, for me, it's just more of a refresher to have a boot camp where I'm riding all new tracks. We're able to ride some other places here in town, like we have Barsha, who's nearby, the MTF crew nearby, Israel Lusk old place, Southern nearby, GPF. So Zach Bell's old place, like it's just a lot of places to ride. And I think for me, that's been something that's been really cool.
That's like a miniature Supercross season. those tracks. That's cool.
No, exactly. And so, like I said, I think it's just been just that change. I think a lot of people talk about it and like all the guys that have, maybe retired early or done a different thing. I feel like all the stuff I hear now with podcasts and all that, like they all admit like, man, I think if I would have made a change with the team or if I would have maybe changed where I lived or something like that, I could have raced a few more years. And, that's just, I think where I was, there was nothing wrong with where I was. I mean, the new bike, when it came out, we definitely had a little bit of struggles, but I think it was just overall at that point in my career where I just really just needed a change. And it's simple as that, nothing else, nothing less.
Well, that is good because you've earned it. Like when you come up as a rookie or you're 2 or 3 years in you don't get to, tell people what you want. You have to kind of go with the program. I mean, with multiple championships in 250s and 450s, you know what works and you also know what doesn't work. So, I mean, you've earned that right, Coop.
Oh, I appreciate it. And yeah, like you said, I've been blessed to have great success. And, for me, it's something that I feel like I went to a team that's just as capable of winning championships, right? You look at the last 3 years and they've won about everything possible, right? And so I think for me that was something else that was very enticing, seeing what Eli was able to do on the bike, seeing what Dylan was able to do, outdoors and even in Supercross and stuff. And I think for me, I know as a 250 rider what Star was like, and I had great memories and great results, and now that's translated to the 450 side. So like I said, it is a new change and it's refreshing, but it's also, like we just said, the grind is real, and I'm back on a team where it's the same expectation, and that's to go out there and deliver championships. So like you said, I am very grateful to be in an opportunity to have, options and stuff like that to switch teams or go where I feel like I wanted to go. But it's also the number one reason for change is results, right? At least for me. So I'm always driving to get better and put myself in a position where I feel like I can do my best work. So like I said, we'll see how it all lines up, but so far it's been great.
I know that a lot's been made about the teaming up with Eli, but that's happened forever in our sport with teammates going for the same championship. That's no big deal. And it just happens that you guys have won the last 5 championships. So, I mean, you guys are the two top dogs, but you're not really training together. I mean, this is kind of the same as it's always been, except when you show up on the track on Saturdays now, you're going to be under the same rig, but you guys have your own programs. It's not like you're, battling stopwatches all week, right?
No, exactly. I think it's a little bit unique dynamics. Like you said, I'm sure, if we get late in the year and happens to be between us, I'm sure it might get a little bit, tight or awkward. But yeah, as of right now, we've kind of gotten to know each other a little bit more just from, he comes down here and tests, and he's had our photo shoot this week and stuff like that. And I got to talk to him for really the first time more than, hey, how's it going at the LA SMX? And, I think we're both at that point where we're a bit older in the sport, and we have a lot of respect for each other and always have. And we were talking about the other day, we were never really, we were battling each other in a championship, but it wasn't like we were rivals or hated each other or, had disrespect or anything like that. So it's been unique for sure. And I think it'll be good. There's obviously a lot of young guys coming, and I think for us, we've battled the last, like you said, 5 years, and we're both at 2 championships and stuff like that. But there's definitely a new wave coming. That's no secret. So I think it's good for us to hopefully push each other within the truck to then make us better on the track as well. But yeah, we'll see how that dynamic goes. I mean, it's also unique. Like, everyone asked me that, and I'm like, well, if I would have stayed at KTM, I would have had Chase too, where we would have also been two alphas, So I've had that. Like on Star, I always had J Mart or Plessinger and those guys, and even on KTM, it was always me and Marvin. So I've always fed well off that kind of 2 winning guys atmosphere. So I'm hoping to feed the same way off that kind of energy, I guess.
If he invited you to come out and train in Colorado, would you do that, or you prefer separate camps?
I mean, I think it's tough, right? Like, I don't know if he would never necessarily ever extend the invite, but I don't think it would be an issue if I came up there and rode or anything like that.
Okay.
But at the same time, like for me, it makes sense to be here, right? Where the team is, the shop, the tracks are already here. It's kind of from a cost perspective, like it doesn't cost me anything to be here, right? So that's been a positive, and that's kind of how it was at Eldon's. Is you kind of had everything there. You had your shop, your gym, your tracks, your riding, and where the Star facility is different because now the whole team's based out here. If you want to test, you test that day. If you want to, you're with your race mechanic all the time. You're with the team, and there's no miscommunication across the country when things aren't right or if you need to work on stuff. So that's for me been really awesome. And yeah, for me, I think just staying in Florida is what's going to work best.
When you, I know you've mentioned before that you saw what Eli did on that Yamaha, and that really enticed you to want to, hop on that bike. Specifically, what turning, suspension, whoops? What did you see that Eli was doing on that bike that you were at a disadvantage with your KTM in your view?
I mean, it's hard to until until you ride it, you don't ever know, right? I think when I was racing him this past year, I just felt like maybe there was some tracks and some places where he could do some things better, but maybe there was some races for me on the KTM where I could do some things better. And I think you'll get that now, like where we're all so advanced, we're all so good, the bikes are all so good, and I think every 450 has things that it does really good, and then I think every 450 manufacturer has stuff that it does not so good, right? And one thing for me that I've always loved is just an air fork, and that's what Star runs, and that's what I'm running now. And we were in 21 on KTM, we were able to kind of come up with an air style of fork that worked really, really well for me. And we could never quite duplicate it on the new bike. So, I mean, like I said, I think for me, that's what really enticed me was the suspension side. I've always really felt like KYB is the best suspension personally. And the air fork is something that I really enjoy. So that's what really enticed me about it.
I know that you've had suspension problems at KTM. There's no doubt. I mean, you won the championships. You went to the new bike. I mean, you even went as far as to show up with stock suspension or asked to get these settings back to getting into the ballpark where you felt comfortable. Was that if you had to look back over the last 2 years, is that just been the biggest hurdle? Is just straight suspension with that new bike? I mean,
there's a few things, yes, but yeah, I think overall for me, like I said, it was tough because, man, in Supercross and 20 and 20, 19, 20, and 21, I had great years.
Oh yeah,
and it was really a bike that gelled for me. It was a bit smaller. It was really light, and like I said, we actually during COVID, I remember in 20 before the Salt Lake rounds, that's the first time I had ridden with that air fork, and we put that on. And I mean, from those Salt Lake races until all the way through 2021, I didn't touch my suspension.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. So I just was in such a good spot with that bike. So I think when the new bike came out, everything was different, right? Like nothing translated to be the same. And I think it just took a really long time for everyone to honestly wrap their heads around it, because we were in such a good spot with the 21 that we would try that on the new bike and it just simply wouldn't work.
Right.
So
geometry.
I think it took a long time. And yeah, I think as far as like some of the stock parts, like I'd say on this new chassis, like the frame was pretty stiff. And that was something that I feel like we needed to address. And then the suspension as well. We ran, it's kind of a touchy subject, but we would run 52 millimeter forks, and they were a bit, in my opinion, too rigid. Some of our just components were very rigid with already a very stiff frame. And I felt like, and even our triple clamps were a bit stiff too. So you had like a very stiff chassis and compared to maybe what it was before. And I just think the right direction would have been softening the chassis, and then the suspension was tough because you're trying to match suspension with a stiffer feel, and it's hard to get that right. So yeah, I mean, if it was like my choice, I would have gone those few things. Like I would have gone, a little bit softer frame, a 48 mil fork with some softer shock components and stuff like that. And honestly, the stock R&D like clamps for me, I loved. So kind of a softer feel really gave it a lot of good potential. And then it would have been right where, some of the characteristics of the KTM being really light. I really love the engine, would have really put us in a nice place. But it's learning, and I'm sure they'll address that and maybe this off season make some changes. But because I've noticed like Aaron's already for the SMX was making some changes to some of those components and stuff like that. So I'm sure, maybe they listened to me, maybe they didn't. We'll see come January.
Well, explain to the fans. This is, I talked to Hammer, one of my best friends in the world. I said, Coop didn't forget how to ride. I mean, you don't just forget how to ride when you switch a new bike, it's the bike. But explain to fans why you don't get a say in this, or why they're limited on what that they can do for you, and why can't they just make you happy and go with what you want?
I think it's a tough tough thing because they do, right? Like, it's not like they're, a team is ever going to be like, dicks on purpose, right?
Right. They want to win too. Yeah.
Yes. Everyone that I was around wanted to win and they wanted to do these things. I think it's really hard when the motorcycle industry has to sell motorcycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, just from the outside looking in, I think what kind of happened from like those 19, 20, 21 years is the brand really expanded. They got Gas. Husqvarna was really coming around. And I remember, especially in 19, it was still like KTM was the bread and butter. And I feel like then it became where all three brands, needed to be equal. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but from a strictly racer's perspective, it was kind of hard because if it was something where me and the KTM guys really honed in on a product or suspension or engine or something and went through our test rider and went through me, and then we did all this work, and then it got everyone access, to Gas, to Husqvarna, to everyone on KTM. It was a little hard for me, right? Because, I feel like as a racer, you always want that little bit
that's
of edge.
yours.
So
yeah, that's yours.
That was something. And then, like I said, there's a lot of stuff where they've invested a lot of money in certain parts. And, I think especially WP has invested a lot of money into the 52 millimeter fork. And it's not easy to just roll over on it because one rider says, hey, this isn't better.
Yeah.
They've sunk hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into that. So it wasn't like, they were just saying, hey, no, you can't do it. It was just like, hey, this is what we've invested our time and money in, and we got to try to make it work.
Gotcha.
And I just think for me, I was stubborn and was like, F that, put whatever's best. And, but like I said, I think that was maybe some of the reasons too, that the Star team definitely enticed me a little bit. Like, we'll run whatever's the best product. And, Bobby will always say, hey, we're going to run whatever's best, and whatever the rider wants, we're going to do. So, and yeah, I think we've seen that from my end. Like, I've seen it now with the Lawrences with Honda. But they're getting a lot of a little less corporate on that. As you're seeing some of those results come around, and obviously the Lawrence brothers are getting have all the talent. So I just right now we're competitive. Every rider is so good. We're all fit. We're all fast. We're all extremely talented. We're all great starters.
Yeah.
Getting that I put myself in that position. And getting back to your original question about the fans, that's what I think.
Hey, Coop, you're breaking up. Are you in a shitty spot?
I'm in the same spot. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. So go ahead.
Got a little bit. Is that any better?
All right, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, bud. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, it's all about comfort, I feel like, right now. And it's the same maybe reason why one weekend last year, like Tom went first 5 long shots, and the next was fifth that weekend. Is getting for the track.
Yeah, you're breaking up bad now.
Gosh.
Your clickers on your phone, or you need some adjustments on the phone. We need to go to air fork phone.
Can you hear me now?
No, you were perfect when we started. I don't know if you walked into the shitter or what.
No, we're good. I didn't move, but it's Tallahassee. You kind of don't know. You don't get the best service.
That's like California. This is just shitty service. Okay. Yeah, tons better. Thank you for that. So getting back to your point about the with the OEM, wanting to do what's right, but then they have to try to make these parts work that they've invested all this money on. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to assume, and especially as I'm getting older and learning the the cost and what it really takes to go racing each weekend. I mean, yeah, right. If you're a business owner and you said, hey, we're going to invest this amount of money into a part that is specific to our brand that we feel is a better direction, and you have one rider or one or two riders that say, yeah, we don't know, we think this is better. It's tough, right? You're not just going to throw that product aside and waste all that money just off of maybe one guy's, comments or something like that. But
right.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and it's it's a business. It's a business. So I think that's the other thing too is you got to find a group of people that are able to have a really good business plan, but also have a really good racing plan.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is they lured Tomac away from from Kawasaki. They lured you from KTM. This is the future business model for successful racing: is make your racer happy. That's the business model.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's not easy, but I think we've seen it. It's nothing new, right? I mean, you look back at the '90s when McGrath was Honda's guy, and they made that change, and I mean, it changed. He changed his whole career for it, and
everything.
And same with maybe Stewart or these guys, and so I think it's tough, right? And as we evolve, like I think. As far as at least the Japanese, or even, I don't know, really Austria's kind of game plan, but it seems like the Japanese style is always, hey, every 3 or 4 years we have a new bike. And at the end of the day, their goal is to sell dirt bikes. And if they feel like, hey, we want a lighter motorcycle or we want a better turning motorcycle, and they take a big stab at it, it's either going to work great or you might not hit it on the head and you're going to have a few years of trying to work it out. But that's kind of how it's been, it seems like, with most of the manufacturers for the last few years, or 20, 30 years even.
Did you feel respected at KTM? Your opinion?
No, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, he wasn't happy and there was this and there was animosity and da. But no, I think it you're going to have bumps in any relationship, right? And I think for me, like when I got there, they gave me a great opportunity, right? And they really did turn my career back around from really 2 awful first years in this 450 class. And so I think for me, it was like a great opportunity to come to KTM, and it was a whole new thing. And I think what was really hard was, like I said, that 19, 20, 21 were really great years for myself and for the team. We won 7 races in Supercross in 19, and we won 8 in 21.
Wow, yeah.
2 championships. Like you're gelling really well. And then, like I said, when the new bike came out, I think that's where it got tough for both parties, because everyone got to a point where there was a lot of frustration, and I had made some changes that maybe I shouldn't have made with my program. But at the same time, like, we went from a bike that I absolutely loved to a bike that in 22, I did really struggle with. So I just think for me, when I took that summer off, I rode that new bike in a stock production form, and I learned a lot about it. And I was ready to kind of give that feedback to the team and tell them what I liked. And when I kind of got back for that, from that summer little hiatus, if you will, they had maybe a different plan. And I think that's where we just kind of started to butt heads a little bit. And I was at a point where I had 1 year left on my contract, and it was make it or break it for me, right? Like I had a terrible 2022, like it was absolutely horrible. And then if I didn't show up in 2023 and show what I'm capable of, it could have really impacted my future in this sport, not only financially, but with contracts and everything like that. So, and I just had my daughter and was, a whole new responsibility. And I just felt like I was in a place where I was taking a lot of it on me. Like, hey, it's on me if I succeed this year or not. So I was definitely more vocal this last year.
Okay.
And, I knew Chase was already signed with the team, and that was something where at the time I didn't have my contract. So it was also like, hey, I've won you guys 2 championships, and you're signing a new guy before you kind of give me even dibs at a chance to sign. So for sure, there wasn't great, like, hey, let's go all freaking to the theme park and have a good old day. But at the same time, there was always respect, and there was always like, those guys would do whatever it took to try to make me happy. And, it wasn't for a lack of effort, for sure. I just think they had bosses, and, we all have bosses, right? And that for me was maybe a tough pill to swallow, but, it all works out, and at the end I had a great year last year where I put myself in a great position to win a championship, had the red plate for a few rounds, had a concussion where I was 10 points out of the championship, and, was a great year overall. But like I said, I think it just comes down to, at the end of the day, sometimes you got to make a change, and that's what we're doing, and we're not looking back.
People think like when riders change teams, and I'm sure it's like they think it's like a divorce. Like you can't stand to look at you anymore. Oh my God, the way you chew your food, the way you breathe, I hate you. I can't. I mean, so there's probably some times when you walk away and you're like, it truly is disdain for that team. But it sounds like you were a level of frustration with the new bike. They tried, you tried. I mean, it wasn't like a straight up nasty divorce.
No, not by any means. And like I said, I still talk to those guys, all the time, once a week, and stuff like that. And at SMX, we talked, and it was fine. There's no animosity, and that's what's great about our sport, right? Is like you're grateful for the good times, even though the bad times seem like bad times. When you look back, like, man, it was really great times with the KTM group, and we did a lot of unthinkable things, especially in that 2019 year where I went from being a
resurrected
8th to 10th place guy to winning instantly. So, I mean, it really is incredible. So like you said, I think it's easy to hold a little bit of like resentment or blame or whatever the thing is, but it is what it is. And you just move on, and like, it's the way the sport goes. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows, and all you can do is put your best foot forward and try to put yourself in the best situation. So, like I said, I think for me, it's great to move to the Star Racing Yamaha team and have those butterflies again, have that rejuvenation, have it be where, we're getting a little bit better, I guess you could say. Like, I know what I need to work on from last year, and we're working on those things. And, I'm pumped, honestly. Like I said, even if it doesn't maybe work out like I envision it being here at Star, like, I have no regrets, and truly am enjoying and loving what I'm doing. And that's been a long time since that's happened. So I'm pumped.
I know you're a big loyalty guy too. I know that in amateurs, a lot of the big teams overlooked you, and Star gave you that chance. And I know that was big to you, and you wanted to stay loyal to them. When they signed Sexton, did you think, here we go again? I mean, here it is. Haven't I given you enough KTM where I don't even get the benefit of the doubt? Moving forward.
It's tough because as stubborn and as bad as I want to be, like, yes, whatever. Like I said at the beginning of this call, you got to look at it from a business standpoint, right? And he's a younger guy. He obviously had great potential. Like, he showed this year he's a champion. Like, he's gonna be the guy, right? And I was 26, 27 when they were making that decision. And I think from a business standpoint, like, businessman, you got to look at it like that. And sure, for me, I definitely didn't necessarily agree with it, but like, hey, that's them. And at the same time, like, I got to race the guy either way. Don't matter what team he's on. So if he's going to be my teammate, like, that's fine. Yeah. Like, let's bring it on and let's do it. So, and I think they looked at it like, man, Coop could maybe teach him some things from the mentality standpoint and stuff like that. Like, they were in a position to really get the best bang out of their buck. But, it doesn't always work like the bosses want, I guess.
I know that the Nashville thing was probably the lowest of lows in your career. Did you regret coming back for any of the Nationals? I know you wanted to get some gate drops and get back into the swing of things, but looking back, was that just a bad decision, or you don't regret that?
No, I don't regret it at all. I mean, I wasn't ready and I wasn't in a great spot and things like that. But no, I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, I got 2 podiums and 2 top 5s, and the class was weak for sure. But hey, that's 2 podiums that I can say I got in the 450 outdoor motocross, and it gave me a little bit of points towards SMX, and it gave me some racing and some gate drops. And for me now on Star, like I'm going to race outdoors for the next 2 years. So it gave me just that little bit of track time that I feel like I definitely needed. And, I had planned on racing the whole summer, but had that crash, before, I think it was after High Point. And I think at that point it was kind of just like, we mutually were just all like, hey, we've already had the crash at Nashville where I had a concussion, and what a lot of people don't know that I can talk about now is I actually crashed Tuesday before Nashville and had a concussion. So it wasn't great, and so I think it was just kind of like, hey, let's end this on mutual terms. Let's show, move on and be somewhat healthy and thanks. And, let's do it this way. So, it worked out great. I was able to, once I got healthy after that, was able to, get on the Yamaha. We moved to Tallahassee, and, it wasn't like a rush thing. And, I wasn't prepared by any means, but I could go to SMX and get those gate drops. And it was good for me to learn what we needed to work on for this Supercross, So, I don't regret racing by any means.
The Nashville crash, that close to the championship. I know, looking back over your career, how long did it take you mentally to put that in the rearview mirror? I know that must have been the hardest thing to do in your career.
Yeah, honestly, at the time it was pretty rough, but it wasn't that bad until honestly Denver, when Eli went out. That's when it was like, man. Yeah. Like I said, in racing, you never know. And Chase had a great year, and he was not far behind us and third. Or going into Nashville, he was third in points, and he was still very close to achieving the championship. But like I said, for me at Nashville, from what I remember, I was 10 points behind going into Nashville, and that at the time when I got concussed and stuff, I was like, man, yes, Chase won Nashville and Eli got second. Like, this is Eli's title, he earned it fair and square. But then when Denver happened the next weekend, it's just that instantly like, man, if I just would have been out there. But at the same time, like, that's racing, right? I think it showed within seconds and days a whole championship can change, and that's why you just never quit, and that's why you never give up, and you fight to the very end because you don't know what can happen. And I think it was definitely a rough little patch for sure, like those next week or two, just having that little bit of like demons, I guess you could say, like, man, if I would have been out there. But like I said, it's one of those things that you just take with a grain of salt and know that I gave it my all. And, the crash even itself, right? I fell over and just
crazy,
freak thing. It wasn't like I made a mistake that really cost me or injured me or anything like that. So, it was definitely tough, but I think when I look back, like, it's definitely made me hungrier and respect like the being in that position, and wanting to be back in that position of being a title contender and stuff like that. And definitely made me extremely hungry for this year.
And that's what's neat, because like when you're burnt out, that's a different disappointment. That's a different type of, mental energy. When you go out with an injury like that close to your championship, it's not a defeating thing. It's maybe fuel for the next year, as opposed to being burnt out like, fuck, I got to do this again with the same team circumstances. So I understand that, the fuel from that coming back this year is even, you have no problem with motivation. So that, I'm sure, just adds to it.
No, for sure. And like you said, I think, right, like, even for Eli, he's coming back this year, and as we all know, I think if he wins that championship and doesn't get hurt last year, it's wraps, right?
See ya, yeah.
You know, it's the same kind of mentality. Like you don't want to go out like that. And then same for me, like I came very close. I achieved a lot of goals last year and got back of, I'd say, the old Coop. And now that I know that that guy is still there and can still do it and have that kind of confidence and fortitude, then that's what really fuels me for this year, is knowing like, hey, it's there. You just gotta, every year is getting harder. And like I alluded to at the beginning, like obviously Jet and Connor coming in, Chase is extremely fast, and you got Kenny back on track. So like it's something that's gonna not be easy by any means, but I know what I can do on a motorcycle, and I'm confident that over 17 rounds, I can be in that championship conversation for sure.
And you got to shake the bike down for the Super Motocross a couple races. I mean, that was like free testing. I mean, that had to give you some confidence going forward, regardless of your results early on. I mean, you finished out strong, it gave you some of that, and then hey, I got to see these guys in Anaheim in 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
No, exactly. And I think, like I said, it was wasn't great outing by any means, but yes, I got to learn the team, learn the kind of race day ritual with them, the different suspension guys, engine guys, and know like the feedback I can give them versus the feedback they can give me. And like I said, we learned a whole heck of a lot, and knew right away, okay, we need to work on this, this, and this. And even with myself, then I know, okay, I need to really work on this, 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 and this. So, and now, I was able to race Paris, and I raced Paris last year as well. And I feel like even though I didn't do as well as I wanted to this year, I was already in a much better spot than I was last year. And then I saw last year after Paris, I was able to turn around in 6 weeks and get second at A1. So when I look at things like that, like from a progress side, we're in a much better spot, I think, than I was at this time last year. So you never know till you go racing, though. That's the big thing in our sport. You hear it all the time about, hey, this guy's flying at the test track, or man, this guy's going to win it all. And, once you go racing, that's when you know. And even Anaheim, I feel like Anaheim's always a crazy race. Like you don't ever get a true feeling of what's just going to happen that season until around 3 to 5 in. Then you kind of know the trends and who's going to be there, who's not. And that's really when it gets exciting for sure.
What's crazy is you think about Barsha and Roxon and Tomac and Webb and AC. You guys are like the old dudes. I mean, this cracks. That's insane. Like you all need to defend and fight Hunter and Jet and Chase. You guys need to form the old guys alliance and make sure that you guys are stronger than the young kids.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. We were talking about it the other day because I'm, 28 now and becoming the old guy, but then I'm still racing all the guys I've raced as a rookie, and they're older than me and still freaking just as good. So definitely have had I'd say our age group from me to, 3 or 4 years older than me are some gnarly hitters and some guys that have really, impacted the sport for sure. So now we have, the younger guys coming up and stuff like that. But still, I think for me, it's just cool to know, like, man, I feel like I've raced some really gnarly dudes, and we're about to race some even gnarlier dudes.
And that's the thing, when you talk about the points, when you're fighting for 7th and you get 5th that night, when it comes down to 17 rounds with this deep field, that could be the difference. Like when that really does matter over that long of a season. Even if, because nobody's going to sweep this. I mean, everybody's talking about Jet with the perfect season and stuff. There's no freaking way.
It's important. Like you said, that consistency. It's important, but I think it's also important, you got to win some races, and that's definitely been the trend the last few years. Is whoever's won the most races has typically won the championship. But I think we saw it early in Eli's 450 career that doesn't always work out either. He won a lot of freaking races and wasn't the champion in Supercross sometimes. So yeah, it's every series is different, every season's different, and in Supercross, like, anything can happen, right? Any night can be shaken up so quick, whether it's a first turn crash or an incident or a run in or a bike failure. Like that's what makes our sport incredible, right? Is any weekend you truly don't know who's going to win. And I think that's what keeps us all coming back and like keeps it such an exciting atmosphere for not only the fans, but even us riders. You know, you can race one night and get, like you said, fifth, and then you can go 7 days later and you have a clean slate to go out and have that opportunity to win. So it's a great sport and definitely something that I cherish for sure.
Well, let's give you the Dunlop questions and get you out here. It's been a great interview, Coop. Thanks for all that. All right, have you ever worn or do you wear Crocs?
Have I worked? No, I've never owned a pair of Crocs.
Do you judge people that wear Crocs?
I really don't. I used to. My dad wears Crocs, and he's tried to get me to get them, and I just told him, like, hey, man, just do you, but that ain't for me.
Old surfer dude. I am not an old surfer dude yet. You can't do that to me.
Nah.
All right.
I'm a slide guy, you know. All these young kids got the slides. They're the way, man.
AC said last night that he wears Skechers, which just cracked me up because he's like, they're comfortable. I don't care. I don't care if they're not cool. Artificial whoops. I know that they tested some. Are artificial obstacles have any place in Supercross?
No.
Wow, just a straight no. Like, you've never ridden them, and you wouldn't even.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
They Baker and those guys made artificial whoops with like hard with like the carpeting things on top, and they were testing them like to possibly use in the future or in test tracks so they didn't break down. They like literally artificial whoops.
Wow, That's news to me. I mean, I've seen the Instagram videos of like dudes in Europe and stuff for hitting these like ramp whoops, but I didn't know that was an actual thing.
Yeah, because I just don't think, I mean, you look at all the great races that have been decided in the last 3 laps in the whoops, it's like you can't, they have got to break down.
Nah. You gotta, I can't change that kind of stuff, man. You gotta keep it OG.
Do you have any Vince Freeze stories?
Yeah, good stories actually. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but yeah, me and Vince are buddies. We used to, when I lived in California, we'd always go golfing together. So
yeah,
his mechanic was one of my roommates one time, and we actually we've always been friends. So I know he's he's not the popular guy, but I've actually me and him have always been good. And but yeah, I mean, I know in a scenario where, hey, if it's a championship on the line or race win, I definitely know his attitude, and you gotta understand him a little bit for sure. But
that's good.
Actually, me and Vince are friends.
I'm glad that you stood up for him because he needs one ally in this sport. You can't defend all his crazy ass shit because there's nobody can. But I'm glad that you had the balls to say, hey, Vince and I are friends. He's an ass on the track sometimes, but I've still got his back.
Yeah.
Do you live in Florida now, which is a lot easier than, or it's not California, but are you a road rage guy? Have you overcome that, or have you ever had an issue with that?
I'm trying to work on it, man, but I am a road rager.
Good.
But I get that also from my dad. It wasn't great us driving across the country all these years as an amateur. I just caught up on those bad habits, but I've been working on it, especially when I got my daughter in the car.
Yeah.
You gotta be a bit more mindful, but it's nice. Tallahassee, no traffic, back roads. You can you can afford to relax a bit more for sure.
That's good. Well, Coop, man, you know that we've got your back regardless. We had just devastated for you last year with the way you went out. I'm glad you're on a new team. You seem happy. Everything is where you want it to be. So 2024, another comeback for Cooper Webb. And this will be 13th on your people shitting on you. This will be your 13th time to come back and shove it in their face. So, man,
yes, sir.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate you. You know that, as always, and we'll catch up with you at the races. They're not coming to Atlanta this year. How screwed up is this? What is this world coming to? Alabama?
Don't even get me started, man.
Alabama?
It's all your inbred. I shouldn't say that.
Hey, I live here. You can say whatever the hell you want.
I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. I'm a bit bummed too. Missed the Georgia Dome. God, we need it.
I know.
We need it.
Hopefully that's a 1 year thing, and you guys are back here. But regardless, man, thanks for catching up. Get back to the work and to the grind, and we'll catch up soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Coop.
Take care.
All right, there we go. Cooper Webb, man, just I hate to play favorites, and AC, we said that he was a favorite too. But man, Cooper. It's got to be just devastating to want it that bad and then hop on that bike that's brand new and after just dominating for 2.5 years and then having to start from scratch and never figuring it out. So I'm glad that he's back with Star Racing. Those guys are doing it and doing it right. 250s, 450s. It is just going to be as. They are basically their team is half of the championship contenders on both coasts, of course, and Eli too. So I'm glad that Coop's in a place where he can do what he wants to do. He has the background and the knowledge of what works for him. So it's going to be cool to see with him on his suspension and what he wants to do going forward, however many years he wants to do that. So guys, check out the AC pod that we dropped as well. Just talked to Pastrana, so we'll get him lined up in the next week or two as well. Trying to get that guy lined up is not easy to do, but we've always been able to. So thanks to our sponsors, Dunlop Tires, the best in the business. Check them out at Ride Dunlop, on-road, off-road, lawnmowers, street bikes, cars, trucks, whatever you want. Dunlop is the way to go. Racer X, MX Sports, the great folks at W Wheels, OGO Concept 2 Rowers. Thank you guys for doing all that you do to help us with our fledgling little show. So DMXS, hopefully we'll be back here in the next, week or so with TP. So DMXS out.
Davey, the Duke Millsaps, and you're listening to DMXS Radio, the best damn station on the planet.
Get ready, America, because WUSA is your #1 source for quality wheel sets in America. WUSA offers all the top brands that you and the world's best racers know and trust, like Reed, Dungy, Millsaps, Tickle, Sealy, Short, and more. All rely and trust WUSA, because all our wheels are built right in our shop in Orange, California. And if you want it custom made for your bike, like the world's best freestyle riders, Renner, Deegan, Adams, Madison, Mason, Sherwood, and others, you can choose different spoke and nipple colors for a completely custom look that'll dazzle you. Off-road riding, WUSA can build you wheels for the absolute toughest of conditions. And W also offers DID and Excel rims, along with OEM replacement spoke and nipple kits for your stock hubs. Need brakes? W offers the industry's best oversized and standard brake kits from Galfer and Brembo. Just see your local dealer or visit us at WUSA.com. Hey, you can also download the most current W catalog from the iTunes App Store. WUSA, DUBYA USA. It doesn't get any better than us.
You listen to us because we are motorcycle guys. You might even call us gurus. We are awesome.
I've been called a lot worse than that, Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, we're the guys. We know everything. I know everything about you. I know everything about movies. I know everything about the space shuttle launches and the crashes. Everything.
And because you turn to us for motorcycle knowledge, we only tell you about what's the best, Kevin, because our spotless reputation that we've built for 16 years is on the line. That's why.
Yeah, and I would not risk my crappy reputation on just anybody. That's why we are telling you about Dunlop Tires. It's what we have on our bikes. I have a fleet of motorcycles, and they all have fresh, crispy Dunlops on them. If the pros have them, you know us amateurs are going to have them. They're good enough for them. They got to think they're good enough for us dorks.
Too good for Dunlops? You're a tire snob. We want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, good luck with that. But not just the pros use them. Everyday riders agree, and they have the testing to back it up. You can't beat the quality of Dunlop motorcycle tires.
Let's wrap this bad boy up, Kevin. Whether you're on the dirt, the road, or the track, you can depend on Dunlop. To learn more about their products, visit DunlopMotorcycleTires.com or your local pro dealer. The amateur guys are working their way up. Go to a Dunlop pro dealer. Check them out. We love them. You will too.
It's the cry of the lion, the burning in your soul. And it's the feeling that you get when your back's against